Welcome to MLB Talk, New York's #1 baseball podcast. Now here's your hosts, Chris Pizzaya and Rob Maraska.
And welcome back to a new episode of MLB Talk with your hosts, Rob and Chris. And remember, you could give us a sub right here on YouTube if you're checking us out. If not, you could follow us on TikTok. You could follow us on Twitter/X. You can follow us on Instagram. We're everywhere. So definitely hit us up there as well. You could also find us at sportswireradio.org. Give us a listen on that as well. Anyway, Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Chris, it's nice to be here on a Tuesday afternoon. How's everything going?
Pretty good. We wanted to test this out again, see if we're got any if I'm going to get bumped off again. I'm hoping not. Hopefully I fixed it. Hopefully we could chat now.
Hey, Chris, and they're hoping that you don't get knocked off either, because I'm sure they don't want to listen to me for the third straight show just go on and on.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But anyway, we're back. I you know what? We got some news anyway that we needed to talk about. Last night with the Yankees, a really bad loss for the Yankees last night. They had the lead. Anytime you have the lead and you give the bullpen the lead, sixth inning or later, you know what? That's a game you got to file under the win column. You cannot blow these games. You know what I mean? And this is not. And the Yankee bullpen is usually, the backbone of this team, the strength of this team. And right now, it's not the strength of the team. And now you start seeing miscues in the field. Volpe again. I mean, this has been all year with this guy. I mean, he's regressed this year. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's him being hurt or anything. Offensively, he's always been a streaky hitter, so not really bothered by that. But the glove work, this is a guy that won the Gold Glove as a rookie, and now he looks like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing out there. So I'm definitely concerned.
Yeah, he's definitely regressed, like you said. What's going on with his fielding? I mean, from being Gold Glove fielder to this, do you think it's just in his head right now? Do you think there's just something in his head? Because sometimes that happens. It's in their head, and they're trying so hard, and they just screw up in the field.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. We were talking about in the last show, right? Just with the Mets, they've been struggling, right? And then it's like once you go down, you're like, oh, here we go again. We're losing again. Like when they had that, you just got swept by Pittsburgh, the team that should not be sweeping anybody, to be honest, let alone the Mets. But it's one of those, I guess, maybe he's caught in this mentally, and he's just, when something goes bad, it's like, oh, I can't do anything right, or he's just down. So I'm hoping that's what it is, and he shakes out of it. But right now, it looks like he's really regressed as a defender, which I didn't think so. I didn't think that was going to happen to this guy. But we're talking about it, and we got some injury news. Grisham had to be taken out of last night's game. Looks like it's a hamstring. Looks like he's going to go on the IL because they brought up Brian De La Cruz from the minors. So he's in Toronto today. So it probably looks like Grisham's going to go on the IL. I didn't talk about it in yesterday's, but Fernando Cruz is on the IL too. We all know that.
Yes.
And that looks like it's going to be a while too, Boone said. So he's going to be out probably at least a month or two. So that means, getting a bullpen arm or two at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline becomes even that more important. And we know you guys need it. And we know almost every other team needs a bullpen arm, right? So it's going to be tough to find a bullpen arm in this.
Well, Chris, the teams that have bullpen, pieces to sell are going to be in the driver's seat. The way things are going, it looks like they're gonna be able to pick and choose the deals that they're going to get. So that's what happens when teams all need the same parts, and a lot of these teams going for it need relievers.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been talking about it. right now, I mean, most people are going to be buyers right now. There's not many sellers at the moment. It could change, in a couple of weeks, until right after the All-Star break. We might see more sellers. I'm sure we will see more sellers. It's just a matter of how many. Right now you got a handful of teams that are probably willing to sell, and one team like the White Sox, they just had to put Luis Robert on the IL, and that's a guy that they were looking to trade, right? And
Right.
we kind of talked about that. Sometimes you wait too long. This is the risk in waiting until the deadline to trade somebody like Robert. He's a guy that has an injury history. They should have traded him much sooner, because it was just a matter of time before this guy gets hurt again, and now he's hurt. So yeah, he may not be able to get traded, if he's not back by the trade deadline.
Yeah, and that's a big blow to the White Sox, because the White Sox have to, they have to do something. They're in this rebuilding thing. I mean, for me to say they're much better than last season, they're better than last season. And no one saw Colorado coming, and they're going to destroy the loss record this year, which is, I didn't think that record was going to go so fast.
No, me either. I didn't think so either. But the Rockies have gotten some wins lately, so maybe they're going to stay away from it. But who knows? I mean, if that's a team. Also, the other day on MLB Central, JP Morosi, reported that he's been hearing from his people that the Rockies are going to be more interested in selling this year than they've ever. They're going to be more aggressive in it. So imagine if they trade whatever they have to trade. I mean, how bad is this team going to get if they trade away whatever things that they have here? Like a Ryan McMahon, the third baseman, Marquez, the pitcher, a couple of their bullpen arms, I'm sure they're going to move. So I would think, the Rockies, again, that's the team that should say, okay, let's start selling. Why wait? You got a big market now, because now you got probably a bigger market than you're going to have in a couple of weeks, because everybody is still in it, more or less, right? In a couple of weeks, you might have more teams selling, and so you might have competition. Right now, you're probably the only team that's going to be selling. Them, Pittsburgh. I mean, who does Pittsburgh have to trade, right? I mean, other than Skeens, like, who do you want from Pittsburgh right now? So
I can't say anything about Pittsburgh right now after this past weekend.
They're a pretty good team now.
No, and Pittsburgh did sweep the Phillies too this year. So if you think about it, they've swept the Mets and the Phillies this year. Even though they're bad, they've done that. But any major league team could win against anybody.
I think them and the Marlins have the two highest winning streaks, current active winning streaks right now in baseball. They have 4, and the Marlins, I think, are at 7 wins in a row now. So, but that's baseball, as we say, right? In a 162 game season, stuff like that, happens all the time. So hopefully the Yankees could bounce back today on, we have to say it, Happy Canada Day to all the Canadian fans out there and all the people that celebrate it. So the Yankees are starting early today. So we're getting on before the game starts. And also today, from the Mets side, we know what today is, right? Today's the famous Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla. Yeah, Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, guys. Listen, but let's just think about this. Bobby Bonilla transferred to Mike Hampton, that transferred to David Wright. So you can't be, all that. Now when you think about it, Hampton was the MVP of the National League playoffs in 2000. And when he signed with Colorado, as one of the picks to compensation was actually David Wright. So in the end, it worked out pretty good for the Mets, although they're going to be paying they're still going to be paying Bobby Bonilla for many more years. So happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
And you know what? There's other players that are getting deferred contracts right now. I mean, forget about the ones in the future. The Dodgers, right? Ohtani, we know, is going to get like $68 million a year for about 10 years. In I think it starts in 2034, 35, whatever it is. So that's not that far off, right? Mookie Betts gets deferred money. Freddie Freeman gets deferred money. And guys that are getting deferred money now, we got a list from The Athletic. Max Scherzer, right? When he signed his 7-year, $210 million deal with the Nationals, it included $105 million in deferred payments. So, and he hasn't played for Washington in 4 years, right? He gets $15 million annually from the team all the way through 2028. Devers for the Red Sox signed a 10-year, $313 contract extension in 2023. That included $75 million in deferred payments. So it's paid in $7.5 million installments twice a year through 2043. So, but when the Giants acquired him in that trade, they're taking all those deferred payments too. Here's a name. Here's a name that still gets money. Chris Davis from the Orioles, right?
Yes,
he signed 7-year, $161 million deal in 2016, including $42 million in deferred money. Those payments stretch from 2023 to 2037 for Chris Davis, and he last played 5 years ago. Manny Ramirez is another guy. In 2001, he signed an 8-year, $160 million deal with the Sox, and he agreed also to defer $32 million over 16 years. He's received $2 million every year in that span, and the last payment will come next year in 2026. And he hasn't played since 2011.
That's just amazing, Chris. But listen, Bobby Bonilla will always be the OG of the deferred payment contract.
Yeah. And also another Met gets deferred money, Brett Saberhagen. I don't know if anybody knows this. Saberhagen, he retired in 2001, but he still receives $250 million from the Mets, and that started in 2004, and that's going to last all the way until 2029. But then we don't hear anything about these guys. Nothing, right? It's always Bobby Bonilla Day. Like, who cares? Like, there's deferred money is becoming so popular. You know, it's so much more common now. Like, it's no big deal. But in a couple of years, like, here's a question for you, right? Like, what are they going to do if there's a salary cap put in a couple of years, right?
Right.
Is the deferred money going to go against the cap? Because that's $68 million alone for Ohtani. That's crazy.
Yeah, it can't. Nah, it can't. I'm sure the Players Association. There's no way, and the owners of the team too. There's no way that could be included. It just will throw everything off. And hello, Joe Dell. But is Bonilla like the Curt Flood of these contracts? Curt Flood was the original free agent. That's why I said that. That's why you hear about Bonilla, because he's the original. He's the first one it happened to, and everyone remembers that. And they laugh at the Mets, but like you said, now it's common. It's going to get more common, and it's just a way of baseball now. But I doubt if they could hold out against teams with the salary cap. I mean,
they're probably going to grandfather some kind of rule in for teams that have deferred money, because we know it's coming, right? We know that we've been talking about it. Like, we know that's coming. So it's going to be interesting though how they put that in, because that's a lot of money that they got deferred. Just with Ohtani is $68 million. Then you got Mookie Betts and you got Freddie Freeman also with deferred payments too, which they're going to add up to like $80-90 million a season. I mean, that's going to be insane.
Yeah, they have to grandfather something in that, because the Dodgers won't have any money left to pay anybody.
Right, exactly. If the cap is even $250 million, I don't know what it's going to be, but even if it's $250 million, imagine, 70, 80, 90 million is deferred money that is already going to be spoken for. So that means you got $160 million. Then the Dodgers are not going to be anywhere near what they were or what they've been the last couple of years. So, anti-American, maybe. I don't know.
Joe Dell says it's anti-American, but Chris, this just leads me to believe that it may be a very long work stoppage.
Yeah, I agree. We've been talking about it. I listen. The players do not want a cap. No matter what, even if they add a floor and all that, I don't think they're going to want. It's going to be a tough ask by the league for the cap. I'll be shocked. I'll say it this way: I'll be shocked if we start on time in 2027.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those. It's going to drag out, and eventually someone's going to cave and get it. But I would think the cap is going to be installed somehow. Maybe it's not going to be a hard cap. Maybe it's going to be something like what we have now. I don't know. It's going to be tough, right? Because and look at we've seen it today. We were going to talk about it. ESPN and Major League Baseball are getting into discussions about a new TV deal. Like, they want TV deals done before that, so that this way they could say, okay, listen, we might have a cap at 250, but don't worry, the league is going to make a lot of money. We're going to spread this money around, and we have all these TV contracts lined up and all these streaming ones, whatever, and this is how we're going to make up the money for you guys. I'm sure they're going to try to sweeten the deal in that sense, but they got to get these things lined up, right? I would think beforehand.
Me too. And while we're on the subject real quick with ESPN, all of a sudden now baseball and MLB and ESPN are back talking about a new contract. I thought Manfred was disappointed with ESPN and the way they were handling baseball, turning it into virtually nothing on the network. They've been terrible for, I don't even know how many years. They went from ESPN in the beginning, they were great for baseball. It was great, but the past, 10 years or more, it's nothing. They care more about the home run derby than the actual games. So I don't know. It's all about the money, we know. But all of a sudden, ESPN is back in play for the contract.
Yeah, I know. It seems odd, right? Maybe it's that, is it possible that Major League Baseball has not been getting, hearing offers from other, places to, maybe they're not getting big offers from NBC or Fox, whatever, I don't know.
We don't, we don't know, but we'll see what happens with that. But if they do make a deal with ESPN's got to change their coverage. It's really awful. It really is. So they're going to have to make sure that they change the coverage. So,
and maybe that's what Manfred is going to say. Listen, hey, we'll sign, we'll get together again, but these changes have to be made, right? I mean, I don't think the interviews during the game while the guy's on the field, I don't know if that's, I don't know if anybody likes that, and I'm sure the players don't like it either. So
listen, it drives me crazy because I'm just waiting for the one time that's going to screw up. Someone's going to lose a game because of that. I don't feel there's a need for that. If you want to talk to the manager for a second off of the bench or whatever, or the hitting coach, I don't like the players being mic'd up. For some reason, it makes me nervous. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like, they got to concentrate on the game. Like, they don't have time to start chatting with with somebody, about the game or whatever. They need to concentrate on the game. Like, they don't care, who's my favorite this or favorite that or whatever it is, like, and I'll be honest, if they want to interview a player during the game, have it talk to somebody on the bench, right? I mean,
yes.
Right, there's plenty of guys on the bench, whether it's the pitcher, whatever. Just talk to those guys, or like you said, the manager. You don't want to talk to the manager during the game,
Yeah,
right. That's also tough to do too. But I would talk to a player on the bench, maybe a guy in the bullpen you want to talk to as the game's going on. That's another thing you could do. But a guy actually on the field in his position, no, I don't think that's a smart idea.
No, it's not, because not only could it affect the outcome of the game, but it could cause a major injury for the player. Say the player misses something because he's talking to on the broadcast, and he repositions himself, or he's running after something to make it up, and he injures himself. All right. It could happen, right? It could happen. It happens without other stuff, outside interference. So I never liked it. I'm not comfortable listening to it. I want to watch the game. I don't care what Mookie Betts' grandmother cooked for dinner when he was a kid. I don't care, really. I don't care about that.
Right.
I just want to see baseball.
Right. I'm 100% with you on that. I really don't care. I don't think to me, it doesn't add anything to the game. I don't think anybody's watching it to be like, oh, they're interviewing, Mookie Betts today, so I want to watch the game. No, that's not pulling that in. That's not pulling more fans in. So to me, if you're not doing something that's going to pull more fans in, then don't bother doing it. It's a waste of time. Let's concentrate on the game. Like they had one of their biggest audiences ever on Sunday night. And it was Detroit against Minnesota. It wasn't, two big market teams. So that's a good thing, right? They wanted to see Tarek Skubal pitch. The guy's the best pitcher in the majors right now. People wanted to see this. So I think let's just concentrate on the game and how the game is presented. Forget about the interviews on the field. Like nobody cares. Like you said, we don't care. After the game, you want to talk to a player? Great. Before the game, great. During the game, have somebody on the bench talk. If it's that important to ESPN or whoever, do it to somebody on the bench.
Listen, you don't even listen. If you have a great broadcasting team, you don't need that stuff. And
right.
Listen, and the New York Mets have a great broadcasting team. They've always have. They make it interesting. All right. I'd rather listen to Hernandez say his Hernandez stuff, right? Than the players on the field. It's funnier. So, just get some. How about ESPN, you get some really, really great broadcasters, play-by-play guys, commentators, and how about we go with that and we don't talk to the guy on the field?
I think it was who I thought had a good idea. I think it was Peacock when they were doing it, when they were doing those early games. Now Roku does it, and I think Roku does it now this way, is that they have whatever teams are playing, they have one guy from each team from their broadcast teams do the show, right? So I think that's a great idea. I think that's how the playoffs should go. I've been saying that for years. The playoffs and World Series should be this way, right? If it's Yankees, Mets, let's say in the World Series, hopefully not, but let's say if it's Yankees, Mets in the World Series, they should have, have Keith Hernandez and have Paul O'Neill, or have Joe Girardi, or have, David Cohn in there with whoever the play-by-play guy is. And I think it would be great, because they know the team. Like, that's what I want. I want a guy that's up there, not just that knows baseball, but also knows the team that they're playing. I don't want to hear Smoltz complain about the Yankees and, that's not a home run anywhere else but Yankee Stadium. Or, we don't need to hear this, right? We don't need to hear a guy like that. I'm sorry. I respect him, Hall of Famer, but maybe this is not what he should be doing.
I agree. Anyway, now that we're ranting about that, let's get back to the Yankees for a second. Last night's game is a game this time of the season that you cannot lose. You cannot give that game away, right? And you can't let Vlad Guerrero, do damage to you. I don't know. Last night's game was a game that the Yankees should have won.
I 100% agree. I've said in the beginning, like you give the bullpen the lead late, in the 6th inning, 7th inning, whatever. Your bullpen's gotta lock these games down. It's as simple as that. All right, we didn't have Cruz. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. He was on the IL, but you know what? You still got guys that just get the outs. I don't want to hear it was Boone's fault or this and that. Oh, they didn't leave. What's his name in long enough? No, like you give the ball to the bullpen, get these outs for me. That's it. Today you got Max Fried going. He's been giving you 6-7 innings. He's been great this year. So that's what you could assume that. So you don't need the bullpen as much for today, hopefully. You know what? Just get the extra 3 outs if you have to from the bullpen. Rendon was, I think he was in the 6th inning. He was already up to 90 something pitches. So he was getting up there. He gave up the leadoff double. So you know what? The bullpen's got to do its job. And also the defense. Like I said, Volpe making some really bad decisions out there. Just, again, we go back to like baseball 101 decisions here. We've been talking about that a lot, right? Like,
right.
I just don't know what's going on with him. But I think what you said is that it's more mental with him. It's got to be, like, how do you forget how to field your position or to make the right decision, either throwing it to third or not throwing it to first when you have no shot at getting the guy at first base. Like, just don't throw it there. It makes no. And if you're going to throw it to third, make sure it's to third and not to the dugout, like, because then it's going to score a runner. So, yeah, things like that, they got to button up, man. They cannot be. This is what this season was supposed to be, like, oh, we've seen what happened last year in the World Series in that fifth inning. We hate to bring that up, but, with all the mental errors and all that, like that was supposed to stop this year. And it seems like it's happening just as much. And it can't.
Well, maybe, after this series, we have the Subway Series, and then we have the All-Star break. So maybe Volpe needs a little rest. He needs the All-Star break so he could get his head together. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't help. Sometimes it hurts, but, sometimes it helps. So he's got the All-Star break coming up.
I agree. And for you guys, like I said, after you get swept from Pittsburgh, at least you came home. I think coming home is going to get this team going again. You're playing a really good team, Milwaukee, before you play the Yankees in the Subway Series. So I think that's what the Mets needed, to kind of refresh themselves. And then listen, if worse comes to worse, if it's another horrible week, at least, like you said, you got the All-Star break. Everybody goes in, they reset, and hopefully they come out in the second half, back to what they were before the slumps,
Yeah, well, tonight the Mets have Holmes going up against Peralta at Citi Field. Listen to this: Holmes and Peralta have almost the same record. They're both 8-4. Holmes' ERA is 2.97. Peralta's is 2.90. So hopefully tonight is going to be a good pitcher's duel. We don't know how tired. We've been talking about this the last couple of shows. Holmes is pitching more innings than he's ever pitched in the major leagues. We don't know how that's going to affect him. So for him, probably the All-Star break coming up is a good thing too. But, at least tonight, I'm looking for him to stop the losing. He's going to be I hope he's the stopper tonight. We'll see. Coming home to Citi Field, that's a good thing for the Mets. I mean, the last homestand wasn't that great, but every other one before that was. So hopefully the Mets can take 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee, I hope, because the other pitching duel, tomorrow night's game, Tidwell's pitching for the Mets, so that worries me. And
that's against Mizorowski too, right?
Mizorowski too, yep.
And he's been great so far.
Yeah, I know. So I'm worried about that game. And then Peterson's pitching on Thursday. Maybe he comes back to form after that complete game shutout he had. He sort of went down a little. So let's see what happens. He's 5-4 with a 3.30 ERA. So if the Mets could take 2 out of 3 going into the Subway Series, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think at least 2 out of the 4 the Yankees need. So today's and with Fried going, it's almost like a must-win for the Yankees. So I'm hoping they could get this one under their belt and then, split the next 2. And all right, well, I'll take 2 out of 4 against Toronto. They don't gain anything from us. We didn't gain anything from them. I'll be happy with that. But thankfully last night I think Tampa lost. But now the East is tight. Tampa's a game and a half out. Toronto's 2 games out. The East is really tough now, tight, and it shouldn't be. Like, the Yankees are better than these guys. It's frustrating to see this, but we'll see what happens.
They are, but I kind of hope Tampa does make the postseason. You know why, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I would love to see it, because then we're gonna have a game, hopefully somewhere in the Marlins Stadium or who knows? Like, I'm curious to see what happens. Right? I mean,
yeah, that definitely is going to be fun. But all right, so get into other things. We have the All-Star game phase 2 is over in less than 24 hours.
Yeah. So listen, like we said yesterday, right? If you want Alonso, if you want Lindor in the All-Star game, get on that website and vote. I think you can vote twice in the day. I don't think you get 5. I think you get 2. So you can vote twice. Get out there and vote if you want those guys in. Because again, they're going against 2 Dodgers, right? First base, you're going against Freeman. Everybody's going to vote Freeman. You know that, right? Even guys outside of LA, fans outside of LA are probably going to vote Freeman because everybody hates New York. And then shortstop, it's Mookie. Everybody loves Mookie Betts, right? Everybody loves that guy. I love him too. Don't get me wrong. But if I'm voting for one of them, I'm voting for Lindor.
Yeah, I think Lindor has a better chance of starting than Alonso, of course. I think Lindor might squeak it out, but, people have to vote. Soto's in it also in the outfield. Right now, he's in the 5th position, so he's got a shot at it too. And how about the Yankees at first base?
Yeah, Goldschmidt is at first. And also at DH. I think Ben Rice is.
Ben Rice at DH. So vote for your Yankees, vote for your Mets, and let's see what happens with the All-Star game. It'll be here before you know it, right after the Subway Series. And talking about the All-Star game real quick, those 2 Tigers that are up there, right?
Oh yeah,
Torres and
Javi Baez.
Oh man.
Listen, Glaber should get it. He's had a pretty good year for the Detroit, and second base seems kind of weak this year for baseball. Even though, listen, Jazz has been coming around, but he'll be a third baseman if he was in his natural position. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we're talking about Jazz in the All-Star game this year. He might still get it as a reserve. Yeah, and Baez, I think the last couple of weeks he's coming back down to earth, right? I don't think he's putting up the numbers that he was the first couple of months of the season. So maybe fans will stay away from him and they'll give like Mike Trout, I think, is one of the finalists. So, fans are going to probably want to get Mike Trout in there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see Mike Trout get in there because it's not only about how great a season you're having. It's also about who the fans want to see play in the game. So, everyone wants to see Trout in the game. So we'll see what happens. We'll know soon enough about that. Now, the Hall of Fame, we've been talking Hall of Fame, who's not in and who should be in. And what are we up to now? Left field?
We're up to left field. We didn't put up the catcher results vote. I'll put that up quick.
Okay.
We know who was going to win that one anyway, but I'll put that up.
Yeah.
That seemed pretty obvious. Munson won that vote over, and Posada was second, surprisingly.
Munson, I'll give a yes. Posada, to me, he's one, I'm going to give a no to, but that's just me. But Munson, yes. Munson gets a
Munson's good. And especially when I didn't put it up, but when you compare, if you guys get a chance, go to baseballreference.com, compare Thurman Munson and Buster Posey's career numbers. They are really, they're very identical, right? Championships, all that stuff. Look at those numbers. They're really close. So that's, to me, if Posey's going to get in, he deserves it. I'm not saying he doesn't, but if you're going to put Posey in, how do you not put in Munson, right? How do you It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I think eventually he's got to get in. Veterans Committee, whatever way they're going, they keep changing like the Veterans Committee and the way they're voting. But I think eventually he gets in, and we're going to say hello to Maria out there watching. And real quick before we get to the left field, Joe Dell said that Ralph Kiner, it's Kiner without the E, Joe, was the best. Yeah, there's a lot of, we could do a show on Kinerisms, believe me.
Yes.
Yeah, Kinerism.
Him and Scooter, right? Him and Scooter.
Yeah, him and Scooter too. That's right. Definitely. That would be a funny show. But anyway, okay, let's get to left field. Who's not in and who do you think should be in?
Well, obviously it starts. We got to talk about it, right? Barry Bonds. The guy's, he is what he is. But I still think he needs to get in despite the steroid use. I know, but I think the steroid guys should be in. We've talked about it. That's my opinion on that. If he gets in, then you got to add in, Manuel Ramirez, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who else is in left field.
I have shoeless Joe Jackson, and I'll tell you why. In 1919, the Black Sox scandal where they threw away the World Series to the gamblers. He in that World Series, right? The guy was amazing. He hit 375. All right, he had 12 hits. That was a series record at the time. He had 6 RBIs, 1 home run, and 5 runs scored. All right, but he batted 375.
Wow.
Here's the thing, though. He did take the money from the gamblers, but he didn't know. He said he had no idea, and he tried to give it back. I don't know, because from what we know about Shoeless Joe Jackson, he wasn't the brightest person in the world. So that could be possible. Right. I don't know. But he was acquitted. Remember, they were acquitted, still suspended. Now that suspension is over, so maybe eventually he gets in if Pete Rose also gets in.
Yeah, exactly. I would think that's going to happen. But again, we said it too. Like, if they get in, is that going to open the door for, the steroid guys to get in? I don't know if that's going to have any impact on them or will have an impact. We'll have to see. But other than that, with left field, I mean, guys that, we talked about it earlier, maybe Albert Bell. Yes. I mean, listen, that guy was just unbelievable when he was active.
Yeah, listen, he was unbelievable, but he had a lot of bad baggage. The press hated him, so I knew he wasn't going to get voted.
That shouldn't keep someone from going in. I know, right?
I know, because Ty Cobb, you could always bring up Ty Cobb, right?
Right. They
You're
say
right.
That's the thing with Jeff Kent, right? Jeff Kent supposedly. Yes. I don't know.
Same thing with Jeff Kent. And Jeff Kent deserves to be in the Hall of Fame too. So but these are, these are humans voting. The writers are voting, announcers, all broadcast people. And some of those guys hold grudges. So I don't think Albert Bell's gonna get in for a long, long time. If he does if he does, it'll be a long time.
I think here's a name, not that I think he should be in, but he's a guy, when you look back at his numbers, you're gonna say, wow, you know what? This guy put up some pretty good numbers in his career. Lance Berkman.
Yeah, he did.
You don't think about it.
No, you don't think about it. And yeah, Jonathan, Chris is aware that the Yankee game is on right now.
Yes. This was more important. I wanted to do a test here and talk for a little while and catch up on some of the things I couldn't get in the last 2 shows. So
yeah. So, and this was a good thing. We have a decent amount of people out there watching us for this is a last minute show. So we really appreciate that. Yeah. And the Yankees game was moved because it's Canadian Day in Canada, but Chris will be watching the game pretty soon. Yes. Anyway, I agree with you. He had good numbers, but people really don't talk about him, Chris.
And you know what? The guys, think about it. He had a 51.9 WAR. He had 1,900 hits, 366 home runs, 293 batting average, 1,234 RBIs, OPS of 943, OPS plus 144, MVP votes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in 7 seasons. I mean, pretty good career. I don't think anybody wants him in the Hall of Fame, but this guy put up some really good numbers, and he was probably close. I think his last couple of years, maybe if he was a little better, maybe he gets in. If he gets to 400 home runs, you could start having a conversation, right? Not 400, if you're under 400 home runs, you better be over 300 average. You better have stolen bases. You better have everything else. So
yeah, you're right. So he's very, very good ball player, not Hall of Fame ball player. That's all I have on on the left fielders.
Yeah, so there's not many. Another guy that got caught up in the whole steroid thing was Ryan Braun. He put up pretty good numbers, but he's not going in. I think that's about it.
Yeah. And we'll talk, I guess, what about center field next time?
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that on Monday since we really didn't have anybody in left field to really we could just put up the, would you want Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame?
Okay, that's a good thing. We're going to put that. Yeah, we're going to put that up. That's a good idea, Chris. We're going to put up as a poll on X Do you think Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, or do you want him to be in the Hall of Fame? That's a good one. Chris will put that up. I just have one more thing. I want to wish WFAN a happy birthday. 38 years ago today, the first voice you heard on July 1st, 1987 was Susan Waldman, and we're still hearing her voice.
Yes.
But
She's a legend. Listen.
Yes.
Anybody can say what they want about her, but she is a
Yeah.
legend in radio, in sports radio.
Listen, she is, and they're still hearing her on WFAN on the Yankee play-by-play. So, and hey, Chris, I don't know, maybe I think we could do an hour show on the Fan and get
at least an hour. We could probably do more. We could probably do more than an hour. Listen, if FAN's out there, we are willing to work. We are willing to work for you guys. Even if it's once a week, we'll come in on a Saturday night. We'll do 2 to 4 in the morning or something like that. We'll make sure we take a nap before we do it, have our coffee, but we are more than willing.
But that is funny. Anyway, so that's all I have.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think that's all we got. I'm happy we got through this, or I got through this, I should say. We wanted to catch up, and I'm really happy about it. So enjoy the game today. Happy Canada Day again to all the Canadians out there. And
enjoy the game and the games tonight, the Mets. And remember, we're going to be back Thursday after the Mets and Yankees are done with their games to talk Subway Series. So we want all you guys out there. We want to hear from you. That's Thursday night, not Friday, because Friday is
after the
4th
games.
of July.
So after 10, probably after 10 o'clock-ish.
Yes, probably after 10. So we'll see you guys on Thursday.